If your toddler ignores you, screams, or melts down, yelling might be making it worse. And science actually proves it. Stay with me, because by the end I'll show you exactly what to do instead. And I can tell you, it works fast. We're parents who do the research, science, psychology, so you don't have to. Studies from Harvard University and the American Academy of Pediatrics show that harsh punishment increases aggression, not obedience. We've all been there. Your child throws food, ignores you, screams in public, and suddenly your patience is gone. You raise your voice, maybe threaten punishment, and somehow it gets worse. You're not a bad parent. You're just using a strategy that doesn't work long term. So what actually works? Let's break it down. Most punishments fall into 3 categories: yelling, timeouts used as isolation, or threats and bribes.
So what causes the problem?
A toddler's brain isn't fully developed, especially the part responsible for logic and self-control. That part, the prefrontal cortex, is still under construction. So when you punish harshly, they don't learn the lesson. They feel fear instead of understanding. Their brain goes into survival mode. According to research from UCLA, high-stress discipline shuts down learning pathways. So if punishment doesn't teach, what does? Connection first, then correction. Now that we understand why punishment fails, let's look at what actually works. Here are 5 science-backed strategies that build connection and cooperation.
Strategy number 1, name the emotion. This is your fastest tool for de-escalation. Instead of yelling, "Stop crying," try saying, "I see you're upset."
Yep. When we name an emotion, we tame it. This isn't just a catchy phrase, it's neurobiology. By identifying the feeling, we shift the brain's activity. This activates emotional regulation pathways in the prefrontal cortex, effectively calming the reactive amygdala. It literally calms the brain. Strategy number 2, redirect, don't just reject. Toddlers are tiny explorers without a map, and they often don't understand no without an alternative. Instead of yelling, "Stop throwing," try, "Food stays on the table, you can throw this ball instead." This redirection builds cognitive flexibility and prevents the forbidden fruit effect that makes them want to do exactly what you just forbid. Remember, we're parents who do the research, science, psychology, so you don't have to. Strategy number 3, use natural consequences. Let reality teach, not fear. This is about letting life be the instructor, not your anger. If they throw food, the meal ends. It's not a punishment, it's a consequence. Food is for eating, not throwing. No yelling required. If they break a toy through misuse, the toy goes away. It's calm, logical, and incredibly effective at teaching long-term responsibility. Strategy number 4, time in instead of timeout. This is huge. Traditional timeouts often feel like abandonment to a child in survival mode. Instead of isolating them, sit with them, help them regulate. Studies show kids learn faster when they feel safe, not abandoned. This is called co-regulation. By staying close, you help lower their cortisol levels and stimulate the vagus nerve, which brings them back to a state of safety. Your presence is the anchor they need to navigate their emotional storm. Connection first, then once they are calm, correction. Strategy number 5, stay calm equals you win. Your emotional control becomes their emotional blueprint. This is the hardest, but most important part. If you explode, they learn to explode. It's about mirror neurons, their brain literally copies yours. You are the emotional thermostat of your home. When you stay cool, you model how to handle stress. You're showing them that emotions can be intense, but they don't have to be destructive. This builds resilience and emotional intelligence that will last a lifetime. You're not just disciplining, you're teaching. Let's recap the research from UCLA and Harvard one more time. The goal of discipline isn't obedience through fear, it's learning through safety. High-stress discipline literally shuts down the learning pathways in a toddler's brain. To teach them, we first have to reach them. Take a breath. This journey isn't about being a perfect parent, it's about being a present one. Small shifts lead to massive changes. Imagine your home being a place of cooperation instead of conflict. That starts with the connection you build today, in the heat of the moment. Science tells us that children's brains are remarkably plastic. Every time you choose connection over yelling, you are physically rewiring their brain. You are building the neural pathways for empathy, self-regulation, and trust. This is the connection-first strategy in action. It's a long game. Some days will be harder than others, and that's okay. Give yourself the same grace you give your child. Progress, not perfection, is the goal. We're in this together, using the best of what science and psychology have to offer. Because remember, we do the research so you don't have to. You've got this, and we're here to help. But here's the part most parents miss. The one thing that can undermine everything we just discussed. Want to know what it is? Let's dive into the final secret of science-backed parenting. Let's say your toddler is mid-meltdown in public. The eyes are on you, the pressure is rising, and your heart is racing. What do you actually do in that moment? In these high-stress moments, we need a system. A science-backed roadmap to bring both you and your child back to safety. Let's break down the step-by-step system for real-time de-escalation.
Step 1. Get low. Get down to their eye level. When we stand over a child who is already in survival mode, we appear as a physical threat to their primitive brain.
Exactly. By lowering your body, you reduce that perceived threat. This signals to their nervous system that you are a safe anchor, not an adversary. It's the first step in inviting cooperation. Step 2. Use few words. In the middle of a meltdown, the part of their brain that processes language, the prefrontal cortex, is effectively offline. Too many words equals sensory overload. Lectures and long explanations will only escalate the stress. Keep it simple. Use short, rhythmic sentences that their reactive brain can actually hear. Step 3. Validate first. Before you fix the behavior, you must acknowledge the feeling. Try saying, "You're upset, I'm here," or "That was really hard for you." Validation doesn't mean you agree with the behavior. It means you see the person. This recognition helps lower their cortisol levels and starts the process of bringing them back to baseline. Step 4. Hold the boundary. Safety is the foundation of connection. If they are trying to hurt themselves or others, you must intervene calmly. Say, "We don't hit." A firm boundary delivered without anger provides the structure a child needs when they feel out of control. It shows them that you are strong enough to handle their biggest emotions. Finally, Step 5. Offer a simple choice. This restores a sense of agency to their developing brain. Give them 2 acceptable options like walk or I carry you. By giving them a choice, you move them from a reactive state to a cognitive one. You're asking their brain to make a decision, which helps re-engage that logical prefrontal cortex. That's it. No lectures, no yelling, just a calm, consistent system that respects the science of how their brain actually works under pressure. Now for a reality check. Will it work instantly every time? No. Parenting isn't a vending machine where you put in a strategy and get out a perfect child. But while it might not work instantly, it builds behavior that lasts. You're playing the long game and the science is on your side. Let's look at the secret to preventing these moments before they start. You made it to the end, and here is your reward. Here's the secret most parents never hear, but it changes everything about the way your home functions.
Discipline works best when your child feels connected before the problem happens. We often focus on the fire, but we forget to clear the brush that fuels it.
You got it. Just 10 minutes a day of focused, uninterrupted attention. No phones, no chores, just you and them. Reduces tantrums dramatically. It's about filling their emotional tank. This isn't just a nice idea. This is backed by long-term behavioral studies from Oxford University. They found that consistent, brief connection intervals significantly lower baseline stress levels in children. When a child feels securely connected, their brain produces more oxytocin, which naturally inhibits the production of cortisol, the stress hormone that triggers meltdowns. You are literally building a more resilient nervous system for your child, just by being present for 10 minutes a day. It's the most efficient parenting tool you have. So let's recap everything we've learned today to lock it into your own emotional blueprint. So remember, don't punish harder, teach better, connect first. Then, once the brain is calm and ready to learn, you can move to correction. And above all else, stay calm. You are the thermostat. When you keep your cool, you give them the blueprint for their own emotional control. It's not about being perfect, it's about being consistent. If this helped, subscribe, because we're breaking down parenting science every week, and honestly, it's cheaper than therapy later. We're dedicated to this journey with you. We do the research so you don't have to. We believe in science-backed parenting that works for real families. Next video, we're breaking down the 5 phrases that secretly damage your child's confidence and what to say instead. You definitely don't want to miss that one. We'll explore the subtle ways our words shape their inner voice and how to build a foundation of true self-worth. See you in the next one. And remember, if your toddler ignores you, screams, or melts down, yelling might be making it worse. It might not be defiance. It might be their brain asking for help. Because if your toddler ignores you, well, you know what to do now. Connection first.